Interpersonal, effective interpersonal skills. The next topic is by Mr. Arvind Chandhoke. The topic is Listen Well. Mr. Arvind Chandhoke brings with him more than 24 years of training and consulting experience. He works with the leading corporates and sessions are very lively and experiential. Mr. Arvind.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Yeah, loud enough? Yeah. So first, before I start the presentation, let me first congratulate all of you for having been present here at this particular time. So a big hand to all of us, please. Before I came here, I was thinking at 2:45 a.m. I have to take a session on listening well. And that's the time when people would be sleeping, okay? But when I came here, and even now I came half an hour back, I could clearly see that everybody seems to be awake. So I don't think I have a challenge of getting you people to listen to me, but the challenge is for me to ensure that by the end of this session you don't sleep. Okay, so let me try that out very effectively, okay? See, basically I have been doing a lot of work for various corporates across the country, and having done more than 2,000 man-days of training. But whenever I get a chance to do something for the students, it does kindle a new motivation in my whole system. Okay. Today we are going to look at a skill which is about listening well or listen well. Okay. If I look back, this is a skill which everybody feels they do very well. You ask anybody, he says, boss, I'm a great listener. I can listen very well. You know, like he was saying to people saying, people don't love me. But when you ask them what they say, I listen well, but people don't want to listen. A few signals which could tell you, let me ask a question. How many of you have faced a situation when you found people telling you, boss, why don't you listen to me? Has anybody faced this while talking to people? They tell you, why don't you listen to me? Okay. Now what does this signal imply? Somewhere you are not listening to the other person. Many times while communicating, what do we find? We find people telling us that I am not able to understand what you are saying. Or why are you not understanding what I am saying? Now these are all small signals which tells that somewhere the listening needs to improve. So today we are going to go into the concept of listening well. And when we talk about listening well, okay, it is not just about telling people that you've understood what they are saying, but it's also about telling them that yes, I appreciate what you are saying and I would be like to take it forward the way you are saying. The main benefits, let me start with the benefits of listening. What are the main benefits of listening? Okay, if you look back, I won't ask you that, I will say it myself, is your ability to build better relationship. How come you can build better relationship with people when you are listening to them? Because when you listen to them, like I hope all of you are listening to me, it makes me feel that, okay, you have given me the required respect. Okay. You are a person who feels what I am saying has a lot of meaning. So that is where I feel to understand that, okay, this person is listening to me. See, when you are communicating with people, what happens? I would say there are 4 activities which take place. 4 activities. What are those activities? Number 1, okay, while you are communicating, you are reading something around or you are observing the other person, okay. While you are observing, you are also doing listening and you are also talking. Can any of you tell me, if you take a score of 100, let's take a score of 100, how much % of the time you feel we should be reading when we are with people around us? Anybody, any guesses here? What should be the percentage you should be doing the concept of reading? You are with the person, you do read something, you do observe something, you do listen and you talk. Anybody has any idea how much person should be on that? Anybody here? Can guess that? Yeah? Okay. I'm sure many of us say, if you ask somebody, we say we should read more. Somebody says, no, we should talk more, we should listen more. Or somebody will say, no, we should observe more. There are certain equations. A lot of research talks about certain equations. So if I really look at this, not working? Is it put in the system? No, I need that. Difficult to. Okay, so quickly if we look at this whole session, okay, I would look at it in the following areas. One is in terms of understanding, that's what I've been doing. And then we will be looking at the benefits of listening. And then we also get into the communication equation, listening versus hearing. And that is where a lot of things become very important. Okay, so when you look at the concept of listening, okay, what do we say? It is about communicating clearly to people. Generally, many of us feel that, talking is very, very important. And when you ask anybody, are you a good communicator? He says, yeah. Why am I a good communicator? Because I can talk well. But listening is equally important while you are communicating with people. Only when you listen, you tend to understand. And if you notice what it clearly says, when you listen to people, when you understand them, there's a lot of misunderstanding goes away. And that leads to a system where the arguments are also less. So if I quickly summarize the benefits of listening well, I just covered this and just helps to improve relationship. Right? Today, just now, he spoke about interpersonal relationship. Okay, but if I'm not going to listen to people, I'm not going to understand them, how am I going to improve my relationship? Apart from that, it also shows a lot of respect to the other person. People who are communicating, who are listening to others, it surely shows that you are giving a lot of respect. Now, let's say, for example, I'm talking here. You're all listening to me, right? And if you're not going to listen and you're going to look here, look there, and not going to pay attention, it surely feels that you're not giving respect to the other person. I found it many times. You're talking with somebody, he's talking to you, but you're looking somewhere else. Surely puts that person off. So it is not, it's lack of respect to that person. Okay, it reduces a lot of misunderstanding because you've understood better, and it avoids hurting feelings of others because you have given them the required respect. So surely they would feel happy and helps to understand the situation better. When can I understand the situation better? Only when I listen to them. That's when many times we get statements such as, why are you not understanding me? I don't think you understand me. It happens in a lot of households when you go back and you find that a lot of things are happening at home, but you are not aware about it. And then you feel bad. Why am I not aware? The reason is very clear. Because they say no use of telling you. One, you don't want to listen. Second, half the time you don't understand what we say. So it's not about that. And of course, it helps to focus on the conversation. So we do have many such benefits of listening, where it also reduces conflicts and argument. And when I talked about the equation, okay, this is what I was talking about, the communication equation. Okay, we read, we observe, we listen, we talk. These are the four things which takes place. And ask anybody, they say we are great. What does it say? Of course, you do observe the person whom you are talking to 9% of your time. Now, I'm not going to say you look at the watch and say 9%. But overall, it's 9% is what you look at. You read around 16%. Sometimes rather than reading, it can also be you write, you note down. You just can't keep noting all the time. You got to look at the other person. So you talk 30% and you listen. How much is left? What's the total? How much is left here? Yeah? Good. So good in maths. Fantastic. You listen around 45%. That's where let me ask this guy a difficult question. How many years do you have? How many years do you have? How would you answer? Just answer me. What do you understand? How many years do you have? 21 years, I think. Let's give him a hand for that, please. Okay, because I felt human beings are only 2 years. But he says he has 21 years. What did I ask you? How many years do I have? So you see how he did not understand. And what all of us think? I listen very well. And when you answer, if well, boss, my answer is right. So the question to you, maybe once again, why do you have Maybe one more question can I ask you? It's a slightly difficult question. Could you like to try it? How many mouths do you have? Sure. Give him a hand, please. He's answered it right. He has only one mouth. So why do you have 2 ears and one mouth? God created, that's all the excuses what we try to put across. Yeah, we got 2 ears, one mouth for what? To listen more. But what normally happens? The river, I wouldn't say that. Whether this is open or no, this is always open. And I won't say this is not open. This also is open, but it's a direct bypass. Comes from here and goes there. And that's what we say. We have, we need to listen more and talk less. Or I would say, remember, we have 2 ears and one mouth. That's what we say. Listen more, talk less. Ask anybody? No, I listen. But let's understand over here, a big question which everybody talks about. If you look even in this room, we have a small research. What does it say? It says the law of compensation. Okay, if you look here itself, you would have found some of us answering, some of us not answering. When you meet people, somebody will talk a lot, somebody will not talk a lot. So basically, if you look back, in majority, we say there are 2 types of people. Okay? The first one, when you look at it, the type A person, what does he do? He talks or responds 75% to 80%. Whereas he listens only 20 to 25%. If you take a cross section. And then there's also one more person called type B. What does he do? He listens 75 to 80%, talks. Now my question to all of you is, who is a better listener, A or a B? Yeah, I knew that would come immediately because we feel we always understand everything. Okay, but do we say that listening is only got to be listened and you should not be talking? Then how will people feel? They will not like it. And this is what you should understand. Most of us feel, either we fall in A or we fall in B. But a good listener, which I'm trying to get across to understand, it's not that I listen and don't reciprocate. Look at type A. What type of person is type A? Who talks a lot. In language, what is a blade vandata. Blade has come on. He opens his mouth, he's not going to stop. So what happens when you see a person coming, your friend coming, who talks a lot? What do you do immediately? What do you tell yourself? Vandata, right? And you want to run away from there. But when you're free, what do? Hey, Vapa, come. Yeah, so you started and he starts talking. Are you trying to listen to what he is saying or you are trying to pass your time? Absolutely right, pass your time. And what about B? You are in a group and you find the person does not talk much, does not participate, okay? Then what do you say? He is not at all interesting. So basically what I'm trying to put across to all of us is, when we talk about the law of compensation, basically we say it's not about maybe we have 2 ears, one mouth, listen more, talk less. But practically, what do we try to say? Wherever you are, we say it's about, where you talk or respond 45 to 55, or you listen, understand. So basically, if you look at it, we say we need to balance listening and talking. Now, would you like to communicate with somebody who talks too much? No. At the same time, would you like to communicate with somebody who doesn't talk much? No. So when you talk about listening, what we say, it's the law of compensation, where we say balance listening and talking. But this is where we need to understand, what do we mean by that balance to all of us? And that's where we need to understand the difference between listening and hearing. Whenever I meet people, everybody says, I'm a great listener. I'm a great listener. Then what is hearing all about? Okay. Anybody could share with me what you feel is the difference between listening versus hearing? Anybody here? Comes into your mind, yeah? Hearing, we don't absorb everything, anything, fantastic. What else? Okay, listening, you get into details, yeah, very true, fantastic. Anything else? Anybody else? You would call it? When between listening and hearing? Yeah. When you don't respond to me, what do I feel you are doing? Hearing. So that means I'm not going through you. Okay. And that's what we try to say. And when you are only hearing, how do I feel? Not good. Okay. People would not like it. Okay. Not only that, we also respond. Let me give you an example. There are two of you talking. two of you talking, and let's say I meet a person and I tell him, I'll give you an example. I'm telling him, boss, I just went to my hometown and it was really great fun. Going back to my hometown after so many years, I got a break from college, so I went home. And you're telling him this, I had a great time, I met my relatives, I met my cousins, we had a get-together. You are telling him, and from the other side, the guy asks you a question. Hey, when is the next exam, da? When is the next exam? Now, what did we understand here? Was he listening or was he hearing? Hearing. Why do we say he was hearing? Absolutely. He responded, right? He did respond. But what was his response all about? Whatever he wants to do. And that's what happens to most of us. You think yourself. We keep talking, we tend to respond. So basically what we try to say, listening is more of an active process, whereas hearing is a passive process. Okay? And generally why we all feel that we are good listeners, because we are more in the passive side, but that is not called listening. It's so irritating when you meet people and you're telling them something, you've not even completed and they're asking you something else. I'm telling him about my hometown, I'm telling him that this is what it is, and he asks me a question, what's the next exam? Okay? And I'm sure after that you don't want to continue the conversation. Okay? Apart from that, we just now saw in the previous section about interpersonal relationship. He says it's all about expressing your relationship. One of the parameters, you got to show it to the other person. Okay? But while showing it, how you show it also makes a lot of difference. So when you are listening to people, what do we say? Okay, you are going to reciprocate, but are you reciprocating for them to understand? And that's what we say. Listening is not, it's just about understanding of words, action and feelings, whereas when you talk about hearing, it's reacting to words only, or words are only expressed. Let me give an example. No, there is a worker, there's a person who's done a great job. Let's say you've done very well in class, and your teacher calls you, okay, and is going to appreciate you. And what the teacher says, you have come into the place, okay, you're standing in front of your teacher, and the teacher says the comments like this, well done. I think if you continue like this, you will do very well in this institute. And I'm sure you will make it very big. Wish you all the best. Now what did you feel? What was the teacher trying to convey? Okay? What did you listen over here? Did you listen the teacher was happy about what you did or sad about what you did? Why sad? Yeah, because there is no expression, nothing. So it's you're not going to reciprocate with proper feelings, with proper action, then it doesn't show that you are listening to people. Okay? That's why we say it's more of an active process. You know, even when people now I'm talking to you, if you are not going to move your head and nod your head, can I see nodding of the head a little bit? Yeah, that's better. So at least I feel, okay, you're all listening to me. So basically what we try to say is, when you talk about the listening, hearing, we say it is responding with empathy. Okay? You all must have understood what empathy. Empathy is putting yourself into the other person's shoes. Okay, speaking his or her language, which is very, very important. Like I told you, I went to my hometown. What do I expect from you? What should be the immediate response? Boss, I went to my hometown, I met up my relatives, I had a very good time. What should be your immediate response over there? When is the next exam? Is that what you say? What should be your next response to a person like that? How would you respond? I'm telling you, I went to my hometown, I had a great time, etc. How do you respond over there? What is the next question you need to ask over there? How did you enjoy? Great time. So whom all did you meet? Now when you do that, what are you doing? You are listening, you are showing. Please keep this in mind. Many a times we tend to speak what we want and not what others would like to hear. And a good listener is all about showing empathy. Empathy does not mean you're going to accept what he or she says. But are you putting yourself into the other person's shoes? Are you speaking the person? Whereas in hearing is more responding with your own bias, your own perception. What you want to speak, you speak. You don't speak what the other person is saying. It happens umpteen number of times. Okay, like for example, now Diwali is coming, and I'm sure your parents would call, and on the phone they will tell you, why don't you come home for Diwali holiday? How would you like to respond over there to show them that you are a good listener? Yeah, how would you respond? A very practical example, Diwali coming, somewhere you are not able to get leave, school, college is not closed for a long time, and they are asking you, why don't you come home for a holiday? How would you respond over there if you're really good in listening? What would you say? Yeah, I don't have holiday. You know, again, what are you talking about? You're talking it from your own point of view. But what is your parents saying? We want you to come home for Diwali. So what do I say? Yeah, surely I would like to come for Diwali. I know it is a very important function. That's where you put yourself. See, people should feel like communicating with you. You say, no, I don't have a holiday. It's a very, bland answer to the person. It shows that you're not understanding them. You're not listening to them. This doesn't mean that you got to accept what they say. This is a skill where you need to paraphrase what they are saying. Say what could make it more comfortable for them. I call and say, I want you to come home for Diwali. General conversation, and straight away, chutti nahi milega, damal. No, doesn't look nice. He says, this person doesn't understand. He has gone to study. He feels he's studying. He's going to become Albert Einstein or something. No, at least I could have said, yeah, Diwali, I know. You want me to come, but it looks difficult. Let me check if I can. Something which makes them feel comfortable. So what do they feel? My son, my daughter understands me. And that's where listening is very. It's nice. We all believe that answer people. That's why I say when you are communicating, yeah, it's not just about answering. You need to be a good listener by giving answers which people would like. Because remember, relationships have to continue. And we always say the best of communicators are best of listeners. Even if you talk about matching, just now we talked about interpersonal relationship. You want to match with people. How could you match if you don't understand them? So it's very important that you put, this is a very common point which many people tend to miss out. I know it's very easy to answer, very easy to respond, but we are talking about listening well. Okay? You need to keep checking yourself. Am I listening or am I talking? Or am I listening or am I hearing? Is there an empathy in what I'm trying to put across? Empathy does not mean you're going to accept what they say, but can you put across things which makes them feel comfortable? Okay? That's what we say you have to do paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is something in terms of repeating what they are saying, so that it clears a better understanding. People feel you're listening to them. Okay? Like we saw, it's all about reciprocating. It's not just about saying whatever you want. And then we feel, boss, I'm a great listener. The best of listeners are people who understand this concept of the difference between listening and hearing. And when you do a lot of research, every man says, I'm a great listener. But unfortunately, we are all very good in hearing. But are we really a good listener? Do we paraphrase? Do we put across ourselves in the other person's shoe? Only then you will understand. Today, even you look at organizations who have not listened to their customers, coming little to the corporate side, who have not listened, have not tried to understand what customers are looking for, have not lasted very long. If you are going to just do what you feel is right, it does not work. And that's what we're saying. Hearing is answering with own words, saying whatever you would like to say. So basically, if you look at the listening concept, what we say, a few more things. Listening is a use of thought process. When somebody says something, do I give it a thought process? Do I give it a small thought? And then I respond. Okay? That is when you tend to hurt people's feeling, not looking at what they are saying. When person is talking about something, always give it a small thought process. It never says you got to answer. Sometimes you may not need to answer also. You may just need to reciprocate with a nod of the head. But just a small thought process which goes. Because when you give a thought process, you are putting yourself into the other person's shoes. You are trying to understand and not doing a bland thing. And that's what we say. Okay, hearing is a very impulsive reaction. That's what we say. Most of us are very comfortable with this. Okay, impulsive, where we feel, yeah, he has said, let me. That's why we hear comments very often. Check for yourself. What are the comments? Why don't you listen to me? Why are you not understanding me? It becomes very, very impulsive. So always give it a small thought process, look at what you are, and that are the skills to improve your listening. Okay? Hearing all of us can do, but effective people are people who listen well. Listen, whether it is your parents, whether it's your friends, whether it's your wife, or whether it's your colleagues or your boss, you need to listen well. Otherwise, you will always be in trouble. So don't be impulsive, and that's what we say. Listening is all about concern and respect. The concern you show to people and the respect what you give them. Okay? It's nice to talk about it, but practicing it is the key. Where I say next time, whenever you are speaking to people, give a small concern. Why is he or she telling this? What is he or she trying to tell to me? Can I understand it? Then I should give my response. Even in sales, what do we say? You know, you like a small example, you go to a shop, you want to buy something, and you say, yeah, I want to buy a dress, and as you are seeing, the person starts throwing 4 or 5 dresses at you. How do you react immediately? You say, boss, relax. Let me choose. Or first, let me tell you what I want. That's when you feel irritated. This guy doesn't understand me. He's not listening to what I'm looking for. Okay? And sometimes when he throws certain things at you, you don't respect it. Okay? And then you start feeling, am I the customer or he's the customer? So it's all about showing concern, showing a lot of respect, whereas hearing is about dominating. So quickly, if you look at the two, listening and hearing, can anybody tell what is the point we understood? How is listening different from hearing? Any one of you? Any one point can you say? What's the difference between listening and hearing? Anybody here? Basic difference. Yeah, sorry, I can't see who's talking. Pardon? Okay. Right. And what is hearing then? Not taking into the mind. But still not being kind. That's also important. Yeah, anybody else here? I think somebody from here, yeah. We need concentration, yeah. Yeah, we need eye contact. But if you maintain eye contact and stare at the beautiful girl, does it mean you're listening to her? No, nah. Isn't it? Okay. And she is talking about her family and you say, picture chaleng kya? She doesn't like it. That's when she has a fight with you. And she walks away. I don't know, I'm not saying it should happen to you, just an example. Okay, so basically, like I said, listening is a point where people feel that you are understanding them. Remember, we talked about the benefits, it's about relationship. Okay, tell me yourself, you all also have a group of friends. Which is a friend you really like? The person who understands you, listens to you. You are ready to share. And then he or she gives you the required information also. So that is what we say. Listening is an active process. Active is being, like you rightly said there, with your mind, putting it across in a way people can understand. Even when you go to buy something, this happens. You don't like it when the person tries to give you something which you are not looking. You can tell him, well, listen to me, understand me. Why don't you ask me for my choice? That irritates you and you tend to walk away. So even when you are with a friend, you know, after some time he doesn't like to communicate with you. Why? Because you are just not ready to understand him. Okay? You are only busy talking what you want to talk, and that is not what listening is all about. The reason is not, the fault is not ours, because all of us feel that is listening. No, that is hearing and not listening. So taking it forward, what I am trying to put across, when we talk about listen well, we say, okay, it's always about active listening. Active listening is understanding, first and foremost deciding to listen, which itself is very, very important. Trying to understand what this person is trying to say. Okay, it's about showing a lot of concern to what he, it also happens in family life between husband and wife, okay, where he says something, she says something, and then after some time they feel, let's not talk to each other because he doesn't understand me, I don't understand. It's just a small concept of listening. But we don't show those concern. When we don't show that concern, automatically it leads to conflicts or arguments. Okay? I'm not saying you got to accept it, but you are not showing any concern at all to that person's views. That means you are not listening at all. That's why it happens. Even the other day, I do a lot of corporate programs. Like I said, having done more than 2,000 man days of training for various corporates, one question I always ask each one of them, do you feel unhappy when you go back home and you find a lot of things are happening you are not aware of? It surely hurts you. Things are happening at home between your wife, your child, and you are not aware of. He says, yes, I would share. 50% of them say yes. 50% of them say, why? Why do they say yes? He says, I am the one working, earning, running the house, but a lot of things are happening where I am not informed. It feels very bad. So why does this happen? Why don't you go and check? That's what I do as an exercise. And when they come back the next day, it's a very simple answer you get back. Why? Because whether it's your wife or your child says only one thing. We would like to, but no use, you don't want to listen to us. You don't want to understand us. So what's the use of telling it? Whereas he says, I'm spending time at home only. Not that I'm going out. But you may be there at home, but when they come to you for something, you are not open. You don't show concern, you don't show respect. Then why should they share it with you? And that's why you find slowly relationships also get affected. Okay? Even among friends, even among family, okay, even also in colleagues, these are small, small things which tend to happen. As a boss, when I go to him and I ask him certain things and he doesn't show concern, I'll give you a small example. The other day, in a corporate world, since I'm more there, there is a worker who comes to his boss and says, sir, I'm getting married. And what does the boss say? When? He says, I'm getting married. And what does he say? When? How would you react if you are that worker? Would you like it? No. Because why did the boss ask when? He was more worried what will happen to work. He had no concern for this guy. His leadership skills are zero. Fine. He says, I'm getting married on the 20th of next month. Yeah. So, sir, I want holiday. How many days do you want leave? And the guy says, sir, I want 10 days holiday. I want a 10-day leave. And you know what the immediate boss responds? Even for my marriage, I didn't take 10 days. Hey, who's bothered about your marriage? Yaar? He is coming and saying, I want 10 days. And he says, even for my marriage, I did not take 10 days. Now tell me, is this listening or hearing? Look at it yourself. Hearing. That is why what he does, he takes leave and does not inform for 20 days. And the boss gets angry. Why did he take leave? It happens. A lot of things happening in the office, but he doesn't know because no use. Telling him no use, he's not going to listen. He's not going to understand. He only believes in reacting. And that's what you say. The concern is very, very important. I'm not saying the boss should say, boss, instead of 10, take 20. Then the work will occur. But what could be the response? 10 days, fine. Why do you want 10 days? Is it really important? Can you not reduce it? That is active listening. That shows the concern. And that's what people expect, which is very minimum. Immediately when I came marriage, when? Instead of saying congrats, that's a great news. Maybe he's sad with his marriage, I don't know. So he doesn't want to say that. Maybe that could be the case, but he could have told. Yeah, that's great. No. Why? Because we don't believe in the empathy part of it. And when he says 10 days, I'm not saying he should have said, okay, take it. No? Maybe he could have negotiated. That's what is my next session when I come later. He need not have said yes, great. But he could have said, why do you need 10 days? Is it so important? And then he may have a reason and then they may have a reason to say, but imagine an answer. Even I did not take 10 days for my marriage. Now, that is not called listening. All of you must always give this a thought. Okay? It looks simple to listen, but do I really do that? Do I really show the concern? That's what. It's about showing concern and it's about respect. What he or she is saying, you may not like it, but the respect is very, very important. Listening and reciprocating. Like it happens, you are looking at doing something, maybe your friend or colleagues do not like it, but giving respect to his thought is very, very important. Okay? Like I'm sure many of you here, sitting here, who have volunteered to come for the 24 hours, which is good, would have seen some of your friends and you're saying, I am going for this session, why don't you come? Okay? Tell me, I'm sure many of them would immediately respond, borra, waste of time da. Tell me yes or no. Yes. How did you feel after that? Good? Would you like to communicate? I'm not saying they should say they should have come. But they could have at least told, yeah, are you going? What are you going to benefit? Okay, fine, you go, but I'm not interested. But duck. And that's what people don't like. Because they didn't respect your thoughts. They didn't respect your feelings. They need not have come. When you have told them, I'm going for this 24-hour session, why don't you come? What is the basic response you expected from them if they were good listeners? You carry on, Ra, but I would not like to. But what was the words they use? Boring, da. Waste of time, da. This is not going to give you a job, Ra. I will go for a job. You do not like all this because there was no respect, there was no concern. And I'm sure you would not like to communicate with those people in future. So that's what we say. You need to show a lot of respect. It's all about showing a lot of respect to the other person. It's about empathizing. Empathizing is putting yourself into that person's shoe. Okay? Unless you don't do this, you're not going to be a good listener. It never says, people have a wrong notion. Lot of research, lot of activities. People have a wrong notion. What is the notion? They feel, if I listen to others, that means I'm accepting them. That is not right. It doesn't say you got to accept. When you look at empathizing, what it says, put yourself into the other person's shoes to understand. And you can always respond the way you want. But keeping in mind, with the concern for the other person. So it's not about accepting. That's where many people miss on. Sir, if I listen to him, that means I'm accepting. Like your organization boss, if I listen to my subordinate, that means he feels I'm accepting. Who said that? It's your bias, it's your block. It's not about accepting. When you listen to him, he feels good. Not necessarily you got to accept. You can always go back with a proper answer. He at least feels that my boss listens to me. My colleague listens to me. My friend listens to me. And that's what you say. You may respond the way you want. Like I listened to the guy saying I need 10 days. I'm not saying I'm going to accept it. Then I tell him, why 10 days? 10 days is fine, but can you not reduce it? Or you can say, as of now, giving you 10 days would be very, very difficult. Not blindly making statement. Even I did not take 10 days. There are also certain boss says, if you take 10 days, you lose your job. He says, okay, boss, keep the job. And the boss knows I need him back again. But the relationships have been affected. So we say it's about active listening. It's about showing a lot of concern. It's about respect. It's about empathizing. What is empathizing? Putting yourself into the other person's shoes. And of course, we say, we will look at a few active, before I end, a few active. I'm not saying listening means you're going to accept. But when you look at this, we say there are a few active types which we need to look at. Just a few which I thought would be useful for all of us. Like it could be informative listening, like maybe many of us are doing here. That does not mean you are going to respond all the time. Okay? Sometimes you go for certain sessions for an informative listening to gain knowledge over there. Or it could be appreciative listening where you are attending something, it's a concert or something where you would like to appreciate what the person, you like those things. For that you go, maybe it's a seminar or you go for a rock concert. Everywhere you are doing a lot of listening. But does it mean that you are responding all the time? Not necessary. It's about understanding. It's about respecting whatever the other person is saying. So it's all about, it could be appreciative, it could be critical listening. Sometimes when you are talking to somebody, okay, you are a critic over there. Critic is trying to find out how to handle this person. You would like to give him a solution. So it doesn't mean you're not going to go against a person. A critic is a person who finds fault in the other person. And listening never says don't find fault. Okay? Like a worker, somebody comes to you, says you something and you know he's wrong. But first listen to him, understand him. Then you could give your response. Doesn't mean you need to accept. People make a mistake that listening means I have to accept what people are saying. That's not right. Okay? Listen well is a concept where you understand. Doesn't mean you should not be a critic. You can't be saying good things all the time. We are empathizing, putting yourself in the shoes. But when you do that, you find that person is not right. So I got to put it across to that person. That boss, what you're saying is right. But if you take this leave, it is not acceptable. If you do this, it is surely not acceptable. And that is where you also have to be listening as a critic, where you got to put it across whether the person likes it or That's not. But after you've understood the person, that's where is the main key. And then of course we also have something called relationship listening. Sometimes very important when you're listening, keeping in mind the relationship, the need to be appreciative, the need to compromise. If you feel I don't want to break my relationship with this person, I will handle the person. But at that moment I need to show a lot of concern. This happens in the family. When you find that he or she is doing something wrong but expects you to listen. So you just listen, respond mildly, but keep in mind the relationship. And maybe because of that, you may later on look at finding certain, converting it into a critical listening, nothing wrong. But the person feels that you have understood him or her. And of course, coaching listening. Okay? Coaching listening is very important because that's what listening is all about. Our objective is when people come to us, they share their issues, they share their problem, they expect some solutions from you. So they expect you to coach them. Okay? Coach, I'm not saying like a cricket coach or a football coach. Coaching is where you're trying to give them some solutions which could help them. Okay? So finally, I just want to say one thing. You need to understand the difference between hearing and listening. Okay? Hearing is all about keeping your 2 ears open, and it's a direct bypass, which is what most of us tend to do. But active listening is you help it to go into the system, process it, and then give it a response. And sometimes the response can be anything. It can be anything. Like in an informative listening, maybe you don't need to respond like here. But it's all about understanding. That does not mean you are not listening. Because many people say, no, I should talk. Only when I talk back, it shows I'm listening. Not necessary. Not at all necessary. It can happen sometimes in relationship where you need to listen, allow the person to flow the emotion, and he or she is very happy when the emotions are through. And like I said, it also helps to build good interpersonal relationship. Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk about listening. And finally, if I quickly summarize a few key points, point number 1, which I would like to summarize with all of you is listen more, talk less. How many years do you have? 2. Sure, confident? Lock kar de? Okay, mouth I will not ask you, you gave the right answer. 2 years and 1 mouth, so always listen more, talk less. When I am talking about listening, understand the difference between listening and hearing. It's looks very simple but difficult to practice. Research shows very clearly only 10 or 15% of the people in the world are good listeners. And most of us. So it's not difficult, it's just about taking a decision that I need to put myself, I need to understand the thought process, and then give the response to the other person, which is very important. And listening does not mean you are accepting what people say. You can decide to follow any of the technique when you would like to respond. Okay, so thank you all very much and happy listening to all of you. Okay, thank you very much. Right, any questions at the end of the day or the beginning of the day? Any questions over here? No doubts? When you say no doubts, there are 2 meanings. Yeah? All clear or nothing is clear. Okay, so either you have been listening or you've been hearing. You judge it yourself. I leave the judgment to you. Thank you all very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Arvind, and kindly stay back in the stage. And I request Dr. Jayashree Suresh to come onto the stage and hand over the memento to Mr. Arvind. The next topic is 39th topic out of 56. The topic is critical thinking.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arvind.